It's a holiday season. Let's make apple pie. We're not making any old apple pie. Of course, we're using a recipe from my cookbook, Sweet Potato Soul. We're gonna be doing the cardamom apple pie. Yes, it's got cardamom in it, which gives it extra spice, makes it even more delicious. And we're gonna top it with an apple peel caramel using the apple peels, because I'm really trying to be better about food waste these days, and I know a lot of you guys are too. So I'm gonna show you how we can upcycle the peels from the apple and also the core, because we don't need those for the pie, and make a delicious caramel. Ooh, before we get started, take just 1 second right now to hit the like button. Thanks in advance. When we went apple picking, we got 3 different types of apples. Some are riper than others. For the apple pie, it's best to use a tart apple. If you're shopping at the store, something like a Granny Smith is perfect. However, because I just got these off the tree ourselves, I'm gonna have to go through these apples and choose the ones that I think are the tartest, meaning the green ones, the ones that look the least ripe, will probably be best. I'm gonna need 8 apples. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, these are little, so they're gonna count as 1. So 4, okay. Let's say 5, 6, 7, and 8. All right, let's peel our apples. We're gonna peel them and core them and then make our pie. Now that we have our apples all peeled and cored, we're gonna be able to use these scraps to make the caramel. And I also have another video, you have to go on Instagram to see it, for another way to utilize these cores and peels. So yummy. They still have a lot of flavor and nutrition in them too. Though we're kind of gonna cancel that out with all the sugar we're gonna add, but it's okay. So now that we have all of our apples peeled and cored, as you see, they're starting to turn brown, they're oxidizing. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna put them back in this bowl. We're gonna put the slices in this bowl too, but I'm gonna do a little squeeze of lemon over the apples, so that will slow down the oxidation process as we have to slice all these apples. That might take a few minutes. I don't want them to turn totally brown before we actually bake them. So just a squeeze of fresh lemon. Oh my God, my stomach is growling. Uh-oh, I need to eat lunch. We're gonna cut these apples into 1/8 of an inch slices. So just go down the center. You can use a mandolin also, but make sure it's a mandolin that you can adjust the thickness so that you don't end up with slices that are too thin, because we don't want to have applesauce. That's not what we're making today. Maybe next time, but not today. We're gonna pour all of our apple slices into this Dutch oven. Into the apples, we're gonna add sugar. I've got white sugar and brown sugar. And then we're gonna add an assortment of spices: cinnamon, nutmeg, allspice, of course, cardamom. That's the extra kick that this apple pie is going to have. Before we add our apples to the stove, we're just gonna give it a toss so that they can be coated in all the sugar and spices. And you'll notice that the sugar starts to soften the apples immediately. They've already reduced in size. But we're gonna transfer this to the stove and cook it for between 5 and 10 minutes. And in the meantime, we will ready our homemade pie crust. All right, if we're gonna do this, make a pie crust, let me go ahead and cover up this outfit as much as I can. This is not the best outfit for making a pie because I'm wearing black. I wasn't thinking, but hopefully this keeps me black. Okay, I made the pie crust yesterday because it needs to set for at least an hour before you roll it out. So I let it sit 24 hours, which is perfectly fine. Quickly, before we roll out our pie crust, we've got to do one little last thing for those apples. We're gonna make a thickener. So I'm gonna combine 1/4 cup of water and just 1 tablespoon of potato starch. And that is going to thicken it up. Apples have pectin in them, which is a natural thickener, but the potato starch is gonna thicken up just a little bit more so that it's a little bit creamier. You know what you're looking for in an apple pie. So I just water, potato starch, whisk it to break up any clumps, and then I'm simply gonna pour that into the apples and give it a stir, set it aside until we're ready to bake it, okay? Making a pie crust is so easy, and all you gotta do is start by flouring your workspace. You're gonna take your pie crust that you have already prepared and let sit, and then place it down on the flour. So first things first, we gotta kind of make sure that it doesn't stick to our hands. So I like to flour my hands, and I also like to flour my rolling pin too. And then we are gonna just start rolling. Now at the beginning, you can twirl the pie crust, and that way you can make sure that it creates a perfect circle, but also you can make sure that it doesn't stick to the counter. Once the pie crust gets quite large, it does get a little bit difficult to move around because it's so big. But until then, it definitely helps ensure that it's not sticking. Now this is how I check to see if my pie crust is large enough. I take my baking dish and I kind of hover it over the top of the pie. Now, if it looks like I have about an inch and a half extra pie along, like an inch and a half wider than this pie dish, then that is large enough. Remember, the pie dish is going to be at least an inch thick, so you're going to make sure that your pie crust can actually accommodate all that space. Here's how I pick up my pie crust. So place your rolling pin at the furthest corner, furthest away from you, over the pie crust, and roll the crust towards you. Now you can pick up the whole thing. It's hanging right on that rolling pin. And now maneuver it over the top of your pie dish, and let it fall right in. It's so good. Oh my goodness, the cardamom really comes through. It's so tasty. Okay guys, so this is a mound of a pie, obviously. This is exactly how I like it. I think this is the best. So when you slice into it, you're gonna have like layers of apple on the inside. But before we put it in the oven, we still have to top it with our other crust. For your top layer, you can really do anything. You can fully cover the pie, or you can do some lattice work over the pie, which takes a little bit longer, but is really pretty. I'm not sure what to do. I'm kind of in a hurry because I have to go and pick up baby Jay very soon from school. Let's cover it. We'll just cover it, a lot easier. So once again, large, beautiful crust, pie, topper, whatever we call it. My brain is on 10% right now. Lift it up, and we're gonna put it on like a hat. Oh wait, but before we do, one little thing. I wanna add some vegan butter right to the top. Let me do that. A few pieces of vegan butter on that pie, make it extra yummy and decadent. And then we're gonna cover it with, there we go, with its little roof or a little hat. Ooh. We're gonna make some slits in the pie crust to make sure that any steam can escape as it bakes. And before we do that, we're gonna crimp the edges. So I'm just gonna cut off any excess dough again, and there will be plenty. What do you do with excess dough? Like, we're gonna be reusing some scraps, right? But I also like to reuse the dough. My favorite thing to do with it is to make little cookies. They're like sweet pie crust crackers. Baby J loves to eat those. All right, so now it's looking good. I'm gonna kind of seal all the edges, just squeeze them together, because we want the steam to escape through our slits on the top, not all through the sides. Also, if we don't seal the sides, then that excess juice is just gonna run out of the sides. So we don't want that. While our pie is in the oven, we can make our apple peel caramel. We're gonna add about a handful of apple peels and cores. We're gonna do brown sugar and white sugar, water, and just a little dab of my sweet potato pie spice, homemade. This is from my new cookbook. Yes, it's better than pumpkin pie spice, but you gotta stay tuned for that. And then we're gonna put it on the stove and let it simmer, let it turn into liquid, and then we are going to thicken it up, and that's gonna be our caramel, and it's gonna be so good on top of our pie and ice cream. So this is what we're gonna do. We are gonna take the apple pieces, the peel and such, out of the liquid, the syrup, because now it's very much a syrup that we could use with like sparkling water to make a soda, or you could use it over pancakes if you'd like. Look at this beautiful pie coming out of the oven. So it has to bake for 45 minutes at 400 degrees. I should have crimped the edges a little bit better and made sure it stuck, but it didn't. But that's okay because that little bottom wrap is removable. That's why I cook in my toaster oven, not my regular oven. But how beautiful is this pie? Oh my gosh. And voila, we have a beautiful, very tall, and I'm telling you, a delicious apple pie. I have to taste this with the ice cream and the caramel. Oh my gosh. Oh my God. Oh my goodness. And the, oh! The crust is so nice and flaky. Oh my God, now it's getting messy. That's the thing about apple pie. But you saw my first slice and held together, right? First slices usually don't do that. So if you're looking for a vegan dessert for Thanksgiving or Christmas or just because, make this apple pie. You know one thing that I love about this apple pie? It's not too sweet. My grandmother always makes it like this. Not too sweet, so that when you add the ice cream and the apple peel caramel, then you can add even more sweetness, so it's not overbearing. You really taste the apples and all the spices in every bite. This one gets 5 stars. If you haven't already, please subscribe to my channel and leave this video a thumbs up. That really helps with engagement and the algorithm and all that good stuff, so more people can find Sweet Potato Soul vegan videos. And also turn on notifications so that you do not miss that video next week. The recipe for this cardamom apple pie will be linked down below underneath this video. Give it a try. I hope you enjoy it as much as I do. Just don't forget the ice cream and the caramel. Ooh, it takes it to the next level. You're gonna love it. Thanks so much for watching. I will see you next week. Bye.